Day 3 after the collapse. The government's emergency broadcast just went silent. Your iPhone's last notification was nuclear alert, and even Siri can't help you now. That FEMA shelter you were promised? Yeah, it's a crater shaped like broken political promises. But here's what they don't show you in zombie movies. Starvation takes weeks, dehydration takes days, but exposure kills you in hours. While everyone's fighting over the last can of beans, hypothermia is already writing your obituary. 3 survivors walked into the wasteland. Only one knew the difference between insulation and installation. Guess who's still breathing? Survival rule number 1, physics doesn't care about your feelings. Master thermodynamics or become a statistic with a name nobody remembers. Right now, you've got maybe 6 hours of daylight and whatever materials the apocalypse graciously scattered around you. Time to build something that keeps you alive longer than your neighbor's brilliant, "we'll figure it out tomorrow" strategy. Welcome to Emergency Architecture 101. I'm your instructor, and today's lesson is simple: shelter or die. Phase 1, location scouting in hell. First rule of post-apocalyptic real estate, elevation saves lives. Find high ground, but not mountain high. You want 20 to 30 feet above the surrounding area. Why? Because heavy particles settle low. Radioactive dust, chemical runoff, and the collective bad decisions of humanity all flow downhill like water seeking its level. Look for natural wind barriers, not because you're picky about ambiance, but because moving air strips body heat through convection at a rate that'll turn you into a human popsicle. A 15-mile-per-hour wind can drop your effective temperature by 20 degrees. Math you can't afford to ignore. Find these features: rock outcroppings, thick tree lines, or that conveniently overturned semi-truck. Natural wind breaks block thermal siphoning, the process where moving air literally sucks warmth from your body faster than a medical bill sucks money from your bank account. But here's the survival paradox: avoid obvious shelters. That intact gas station might look perfect, but it's also perfect for every other desperate soul within walking distance. You want boring, forgettable, the kind of spot people walk past because it looks like random debris. Think like prey, not predator. Predators fight over territory. Prey survives by being invisible. Scout for water sources within 200 yards, but not adjacent. You need access without flood risk. Streams change course during heavy rain, turning your cozy shelter into an underwater tomb with terrible reviews. Phase 2, material acquisition, legal looting. Time to become a post-apocalyptic archaeologist with boundary issues. Priority materials: flat stones, metal sheeting, insulation, and something waterproof. Not everything, specific things that solve specific problems. Stones for thermal mass. Flat rocks stack better than round ones. You're building load-bearing walls, not a rock garden. Each stone should span the joint between 2 stones below it, basic masonry that prevents catastrophic failure. Metal sheeting from roofing, siding, or vehicle panels. Corrugated is better than flat because the ridges provide structural strength while channeling water. Flat metal bends, buckles, and eventually dumps collected rainwater directly onto your sleeping bag. Insulation from vehicles, buildings, or anywhere you can strip it without the structure collapsing on you. Fiberglass, foam, even clothing works. You're fighting heat loss through 3 methods: conduction, convection, and radiation. Each requires different countermeasures. Waterproof materials: tarps, plastic sheeting, garbage bags still in decent condition. You need vapor barriers between you and the ground, and water barriers between you and the sky. Ground moisture rises through capillary action, invisible water vapor that makes everything damp and miserable. Scavenged containers for tools. Paint cans become hammers, broken glass becomes cutting edges, rebar becomes leverage bars. Improvised tools work if you understand the physics principles behind them. Phase 3, foundation work, ground zero. The ground lies, trust but verify. Clear organic matter from your build site. Leaves, grass, and topsoil retain moisture like teenage drama retains emotional baggage. You want hardpan, that compressed layer of soil that's been waiting geological ages to support something worthwhile. Scrape down 6 inches minimum. Surface soil expands when wet, contracts when dry, and freezes solid when winter arrives. Building on unstable ground creates structural failure faster than a Ponzi scheme creates financial ruin. Create a stone foundation using flat rocks in a rough rectangle. Why rectangular? Because circular structures require advanced masonry skills you probably don't have. Rectangles are forgiving to amateur builders while still providing structural integrity. Layer stones like masonry blocks. Each spans the joint below it. This distributes weight evenly and prevents point loading that creates catastrophic failure. Physics lesson. Concentrated force breaks things, distributed force supports things. Install vapor barriers using plastic sheeting, tarps, or garbage bags still in decent condition. You need vapor barriers between you and the ground and water barriers between you and the sky. Ground moisture rises through capillary action and thermal pumping, creating dampness that breeds hypothermia, mold, and despair. Add gravel drainage if available. Crushed stone, pea gravel, or broken concrete creates air gaps that interrupt capillary moisture transfer. It's like giving water a roadblock that actually works. Phase 4. Wall construction. Vertical progress. You're building a bunker, not a palace. Manage expectations accordingly. Start with a stone base, 3 courses minimum. Stones provide compression strength and thermal mass while creating a stable platform for lighter materials above. Each course should be level. Use a water-filled bottle as a crude level if needed. Switch to lighter materials for upper walls. Metal sheeting, plywood, or large debris pieces angled against your stone base. You're creating a lean-to profile that sheds wind and precipitation while minimizing material requirements. Seal gaps with whatever organic filler you can find: mud, clay, pine needles, or shredded insulation. You're not building airtight, you're building draft tight. Moving air steals heat, still air insulates. Install a doorway that can be sealed but opened quickly. Use hinged metal sheeting or overlapping tarps. You need climate control and emergency egress. Getting trapped in your own shelter ranks high on the ironic ways to die list. Create ventilation near the ceiling. Hot air rises through convection, but it needs an exit path. Without ventilation, your heat source produces carbon monoxide that kills you quietly while you sleep. Suffocation isn't heroic.
Phase 5. Roofing systems. Sky protection. Roofs are where amateur architects go to die, literally. Build peaked, not flat. Water weighs 8.34 pounds per gallon. A small puddle becomes a structural catastrophe faster than you can say engineering failure. Sloped roofs shed water through gravity, the most reliable force in the universe. Create a ridgeline using your longest available materials. Pipes, lumber, or metal poles become the peak where 2 roof planes meet. Water hits the ridgeline and flows down both sides like a boring but life-saving waterfall. Install roofing materials like fish scales. Each overlaps the one below it. Start from the bottom, work upward. This is called weatherproofing, and it works because water always flows downhill. Even radioactive water follows basic physics. Use corrugated metal when possible. The corrugations channel water along predetermined paths while providing structural rigidity. Flat metal without reinforcement will collect water, bend under load, and deposit everything onto your sleeping area at 3 a.m. Insulate the underside using soft materials, clothing, seat cushions, or insulation stripped from vehicles. You're creating dead air space. Trapped air that can't move can't carry heat away through convection. Phase 6. Heating and ventilation. Thermal management. Fire equals life. Screw it up and fire equals death. Build your fire pit 3 feet minimum from any wall. Thermal expansion causes materials to crack when heated, creating structural failures that turn solid walls into drafty Swiss cheese. Heat expansion is physics, not a suggestion. Line your fire pit with stones to create thermal mass. These absorb heat during burning and release it slowly after flames die. It's a primitive radiator that doesn't require monthly payments or customer service calls. Construct a chimney using found materials: PVC pipe, ductwork, or stacked containers with holes punched through. Hot gases rise through convection, but they need guidance. Without a chimney, your shelter becomes a smokehouse and you become the meat. The chimney effect works through pressure differential. Hot air is less dense than cold air, creating upward flow that pulls combustion gases out of your living space. Same principle that makes hot air balloons work, except your version prevents death by smoke inhalation. Alternative heating. Passive solar collection. Use reflective materials, mirrors, polished metal, or chrome vehicle parts to redirect sunlight into your shelter during peak hours. Position dark objects in sunlight during the day, move them inside at night for thermal storage. Phase 7. Weatherproofing and finishing. Details separate survivors from statistics. Seal air leaks using mud, clay, or organic matter mixed with water. You're fighting drafts, not trying to build air tight. Some air exchange prevents carbon monoxide poisoning while reducing heat loss from convection. Install drainage around your shelter perimeter. Water pooling near foundations creates instability, erosion, and breeding grounds for disease vectors. Grade soil to slope away from your structure, 5% grade minimum. Create thermal barriers between you and cold surfaces. Layer insulating materials between sleeping areas and ground contact. Cold earth conducts body heat away faster than politicians conduct blame away from themselves. Build storage areas for backup materials. When parts of your shelter fail, and they will fail, you want repair supplies accessible but protected from weather damage. Camouflage external surfaces using natural materials. The best shelter is invisible to casual observation. Your goal is survival, not architectural awards. The reality check. Your shelter will be cold, drafty, and smell like desperation mixed with poor life choices. It will require constant maintenance as materials degrade and weather tests every weakness. But it will keep you alive while others debate whether they should have paid attention in high school physics class. Every joint will loosen, every material will degrade, every day entropy tries a little harder to turn your carefully constructed shelter back into random debris. Your job is to stay ahead of that decay through vigilance and preventative maintenance. Weather will exploit every flaw. Wind will test every joint. Temperature changes will stress materials through expansion and contraction cycles. Your shelter is in constant battle with physics. You win by working with natural forces, not against them. The choice. Two options, survivor. Build something functional using physics and common sense, or spend your remaining hours explaining to the wasteland why you deserve special treatment. The wasteland doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care about your previous life, your architectural experience, or your emotional state. It only cares whether you're smart enough to keep yourself alive until tomorrow's disasters arrive. Perfect is the enemy of done. Done is the enemy of dead. Time to build. Winter doesn't wait for you to figure things out. And somewhere in the distance, you can hear other survivors starting to realize they should have planned better.